To some, he was a rising voice of conservatism. To others, a deeply divisive figure. This is the story of Charlie Kirk, from his beginnings in 1995, to the creation of Turning Point USA, and ultimately, his sudden end. Charlie Kirk was born in 1993 and rose to national attention as a conservative political activist. He co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012, an organization focused on promoting conservative values among high school and college students. Over the years, Kirk became known for his outspoken voice in political and culture wars. He hosted a daily radio show, The Charlie Kirk Show, which at its peak had between 500,000 and 750,000 daily download. He used social media and public events to build influence. He was closely associated with the MAGA movement and remained a prominent figure in conservative politics and media through his speeches, debates, and viral content. While he never held public office, his reach extended to millions. He played a key role in mobilizing young conservative voters during the 2024 U.S. election, acting as a bridge between traditional conservative institutions and youth activism. With his reach came criticism. Skeptics accused him of spreading misinformation. For example, he promoted false claims about voter fraud after the 2020 election, especially around mail-in voting and election integrity. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Kirk publicly questioned mask effectiveness and promoted controversial statements about vaccine. He referred to mask mandates as medical apartheid and amplified false or misleading information about COVID-19 treatment. These positions contributed to his reputation as a polarizing figure. Supporters saw him as a defender of free speech and conservative youth, while critics viewed his rhetoric as divisive and sometimes misleading. Despite this, Kirk continued to influence conservative thought, especially among younger audiences, through TPUSA events, speaking tours, and media appearances. Beyond health and election issues, Kirk also courted controversy around race and culture. In 2021, he launched what was called the Exposing Critical Racism Theory Tour, speaking at college campuses and criticizing what he described as liberal narratives in education about systemic racism. During one stop in Mankato, Minnesota, he delivered remarks that many viewed as antagonistic toward racial justice movements. Those events increased debates about whether he was contributing to racial divisions, or whether he was simply expressing a perspective many others shared. Critics also focused on some of Kirk's earlier false claims. In July 2018, for example, he tweeted that U.S. Department of Justice statistics showed a dramatic increase, from 1,952 to 6,087, in human trafficking arrests between 2016 and the first half of 2018. Fact-checkers later found that the larger number, 6,087, came from an unreliable online source, 8chan, not DOJ data. The tweet was later deleted. Despite the criticism, Kirk's influence in conservative media and among young conservatives continued to grow. His supporters credit him with energizing a younger generation to engage in politics, particularly in supporting conservative candidates, speaking out on issues like school curricula, free speech, and criticism of progressive policies. Charlie Kirk's career was marked not only by his rise as a conservative organizer, but also by statements that drew significant criticism. Over the years, he made comments about race, civil rights leaders, and religion that fueled debates about his views and rhetoric. In January 2024, Kirk made a remark about airline pilots while criticizing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. He said, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified." Critics saw the comment as racially insensitive, while his supporters argued he was speaking about standards, not race. The backlash was swift, with media outlets covering the controversy in detail.
I'm sorry, If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Kirk also expressed critical views of Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. He suggested that while King became an icon, progress for Black Americans goes sideways afterward, pointing to issues like crime and family breakdown. He summarized his argument with the phrase, "You will know the tree by its fruit." This position was highly divisive, with critics accusing him of diminishing King's role in advancing civil rights. Beyond race, Kirk frequently commented on religiously sensitive topics and immigration. In interviews and social media posts, he claimed that Islam is not compatible with the West, and argued that bringing in large numbers of Muslim immigrants would be suicidal for Western culture. These statements were condemned by advocacy groups as Islamophobic, though Kirk presented them as warnings about cultural clashes. On September 10, 2025, while speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. The event was part of his American Comeback Tour and took place outdoors under a tent. Reports indicate the shooter fired from a rooftop or elevated position about 200 yards away. A single bullet struck Kirk in the neck around 12:20 p.m. local time. Witnesses described chaos as the crowd panicked and ran for cover. Authorities and witnesses initially reported that a person of interest was taken into custody. Later, some individuals were released after interrogation. The identity of the shooter remains unknown. Utah's governor, Spencer Cox, called this a political incident, emphasizing that violence against public figures is unacceptable. Law enforcement, including the FBI and ATF, have launched a full investigation.
I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
News of Kirk's death sparked national and international reactions. President Donald Trump and other high-profile politicians publicly expressed sorrow and condemned the incident. Vigils and memorials took place across states, drawing students, political allies, and citizens who did not always agree with his views. Hundreds gathered at a church vigil in Washington, D.C., reflecting the broad reach of his work. Local authorities and the FBI continue to investigate. Meanwhile, discussions about political violence and free speech spread across news outlets and social media. Leaders from both parties urged unity and a return to civil discourse. Charlie Kirk's passing marks the sudden end of a public career that shaped youth politics and influenced conservative media. His legacy remains contested. Praised by some as a leader who energized a generation, criticized by others for polarizing rhetoric and controversial positions. This documentary offered a look at Charlie Kirk's life, from his early rise as the founder of Turning Point USA through his controversial stances to the tragic ending of his public life. No side is favored here. The facts stand and the story remains to be fully understood.